Hi everybody, we've got some new things from Essence. Yes, I feel like Essence has launched a lot of new products lately and now is the time. We're trying them out. And if you're not familiar, Essence is probably Ulta's most affordable brand. They've released new little face palettes. I've got some loose powder to try, cute eye palettes as well. I've got a new mascara in today's look, yet another eye primer we're gonna try, and even the Balm of Sunshine. So yeah, I'm excited. There were a couple of things I wanted to try that weren't in stock, and somebody had also asked me about the Silky Blur foundation, but I think that's not in the US yet. Price-wise, my little face palette was $10.99 and everything else, let's see, the loose powder was $5.99, $6.99 on this bronzer balm, eyeshadow palettes $4.99, eye primer $3.99, mascara $4.99, so I was really pleased with what I came out with, just the sheer amount of products and a really low price. So I've already got my skincare on today. And what I'm going to do is basically an Essence full face, and I'm going to fill in the blanks with a few products that I did already have. So let's talk about this little Balm of Sunshine here. It's in a little glass jar and it says Face and Body Glow Balm. I got the bronzy one, and then they have something that seems like more light and almost highlighter-ish, but I was just kind of playing around with this. It feels like a Jones Road Miracle Balm type of thing, like you push into it, you get things kind of liquefied, and it feels actually sort of thin instead of balmy. And I thought maybe I'll just use this as kind of a primer, or, you know, now that I think of it, my foundation stick is probably kind of light for me right now, and maybe I could just like simultaneously blend these in together. That seems like probably the best idea. Scent on this, why does it smell just a little bit like vanilla? I like that. Okay, I've really haphazardly swiped that on. And then I have their foundation stick. It's just called Foundation Stick. This is in the shade 160. So I'm gonna like sweep some of this around too. Various places. Anywhere I didn't put the bronzer, I guess. And I'm gonna sort of blend it in together. In this past week, I feel like I've been reaching a lot more for like any kind of bronzing drops or glowy primer that's bronzy, like a Lumi Glotion type of thing. But what does this actually feel like? It says Glow Balm, but again, it's very thin. It does have some moisture to it, I would say, even with the thinness, but we'll see what it does alongside this little foundation stick. Let's just start blending and see. But there's a sheerness to this bronzer balm too. Like, I wouldn't rely on it to literally do a lot of contouring on my skin, but maybe a little bronzing like on top of makeup might be good. We're just experimenting today. Gave my skin a nice little extra glow that this foundation stick doesn't typically give. I might blend a little more on right at this stage of the game. For those like who would want a swatch of something like this, see how it just really shears out? Feels hydrating, but the color payoff is pretty gentle here. I'm gonna just like hit these high points. If you have this product and you have it in the bronzy tone, let me know how you like to use it. I feel like it's probably one of those, you know, there's no real wrong or right to it. It's just how does it work for you? I think it's making that foundation stick just seem a little more at home on my skin. And as far as the foundation stick, I have already done a video on this. If you're interested, I'll link it below. But I would say it's kind of like that medium coverage. Staying power that I've experienced here was actually pretty good, especially where it was set. It's a nice, really thin, easy to blend texture. So when you think of a cream foundation stick, don't think thick, creamy drag. It's super easy to work with, but my skin seems to really benefit from a setting powder involved with it too. But that's what's happening now. And then another not so brand new product, but really newish to Essence's line, is the Silky Blur Hydrating Long Wear Concealer. I've gotten along really well with this stuff. I have it in shade 100 here, and I feel like the coverage is nice. It does not feel too heavy on my skin. I'm gonna just apply some small dots and you can see what I get out of it here, if you haven't seen me use it yet. And then today we'll be able to add in the powder, the Silky Blur powder, which is a new to me thing. But I'm taking just any concealer brush. This happens to be my e.l.f. Tap and Blend. And I'm going to spread that concealer. As you can see, it's a very brightening shade for me right now. Probably wouldn't need to be this light, but when I first started using this shade, it made maybe a little more sense. Just hang on there, okay? And look at what tiny dots can do. What this can show you using a too light shade, those were small dots, and this can give you a sense of the coverage and just the spreadability on my skin and what that can really achieve, you know? Just spreading out a little bit there. And then I can take the brush, like a foundation brush. This is my e.l.f. buffing foundation brush, and kind of just tap over that. And see how it makes a little more sense? Just stippling right over. I'm not whooshing over it. I'm not really disrupting everything else. I'm just pressing and patting on top of my skin. But I feel like a lot of people really love this concealer. It seems to have been getting some really good reviews. Fair price, able to really cover well. I feel like it may not be absolutely as opaque. Like when I think about Shape Tape-ish concealers, I think about Revlon Flexwear and like L'Oreal's Infallible Concealer. It's like a small step down from what those are doing. But not everybody needs the most heavy-duty coverage all the time. And for me right now, I feel like this is plenty. Then we have this Silky Blur Translucent Powder. Can you see it there? It's just in the one shade. That was the only option I had for getting this. It says Silky Matte and Soft Focus. Like I need another loose powder, but we're trying to get a real handle on Essence here today. And maybe eventually I'll be able to do an Essence top 10 video now that I'm familiarizing myself a little bit more. Did you see the little cloud of dust? Just took the sticker off. Some just kind of came out along with the sticker coming off there. So I'm just going to take my little triangle puff. This one happens to be from Morphe, but use whatever you want. And we're going to dab over our under eye area. I feel like this shade might be just ever so slightly less bright compared to my concealer color. I got some in the cap so you could kind of get a read on the tone here, because it does just come in one shade. But with the way my skin tone is now, like I don't feel like I'm being dulled down. It is truly mattifying. I'm seeing that for sure. I'm going to take my Morphe Under Eye Bullet Brush and do a little kind of spreading and blending here. I'm not wild about the way that's sitting on my nose. The way it's setting the foundation, for some reason I'm seeing the foundation. Like it looks makeup-y on my nose. And that may not be like, oh, it was totally the powder's fault or totally the foundation, but maybe just the way those two are interacting a little bit. There's just like a little look of patchiness if I look up super duper close right at the top of my nose. My under eyes feel really set. Obviously I haven't set much down in here. Maybe I could very lightly do that with a more diffused brush and whatever's left in my cap, because that Balm of Sunshine stuff did leave me a little juicy. Under eyes aren't looking bad, maybe just a little on the dry side, which some of you might be saying, well, what do you expect? You just put powder there. But some powders just look heavier than others. I think this Silky Blur powder is a very mattifying powder. But we're gonna go in and peel off the little plastic coating here and use this fun palette. There were two tones. The lighter of the two was out of stock, so I thought, okay, that makes my choice easy. I guess I'm going for the deeper one, which I think it's gonna do more. It's gonna probably be more satisfying for me anyway. But what we're seeing here is a quad of like little baked powders. Are we thinking maybe a take on Hourglass, perhaps? Let's touch them. Let's see. Ooh, okay. We are not short on pigment here. Gentle swatches, and I've got loads. I'm gonna need to take it easy on that blush a little bit. But yeah, I think this is totally gonna get the job done. And I feel like also, if one wanted to use these as eyeshadows, like I feel like I'm getting strong eyeshadow-ish pigment out of that stuff. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take my little angled brush and go into the bronzer. Maybe the light would have been fine for me, I don't know. I just did like a pickup order actually with this stuff. I thought maybe that'll help me stay away from impulse buys. I know I'm wanting to try Essence and Essence only, so maybe if I just do a pickup. Okay, this is bronzer right up around the hairline. That's looking good. Obviously, you know, when you see those swatches, that's not how it's getting applied to my skin. We're diffusing it out with a brush. I think this is gonna be great for contour. Couple other things I wanted to try that were out. They had a bronzing palette that was just bronzers. I don't think it was baked like this though. And then they had like a honey serum setting spray, something like that. Look at this. This is looking super nice. Like, it's not even seeming remotely like too dark. I'm just kind of building actually, because I went in pretty light with it at first. To me, I mean, and just touching and swatching them at first, they feel much more pigmented than Hourglass powders, more immediately like heavy duty on color. I'm adding a little to the nose, just hoping that that kind of softens things up on there. Letting a little bit extra on my brush come up toward the eye area, but I'm pleased with that. Now let's try the blush. Really berry blush right here. That's a lot. And it seems like even more powdery, like actually kicked up quite a bit. I'm gonna dab that to my hand a little bit first. And then kind of start blending out here. Wow. Wow, guys. Watch out. I tapped off excess. I tapped off on my hand, and I really only just gently dabbed it in, but I've got loads. I'm blending and blending, but I've got a serious cheek here now. Once everything comes together, it'll work, but I don't know how much more one can watch themselves with this. I just got a very small amount over here. And it's still doing a lot of work. It reminds me of like my super pigmented, and kind of similar shade-wise too, my really pigmented NYX blush. This blush, even the shade Butter with Time, very similar to this. Obviously I have to have a little bit more on here because my cheeks kind of need to match. Take it up. It's fun, but wow. Caution, caution, high pigment zone. One thing you can always do if you feel like the blush has gone too far, don't forget about your loose powder. You can take a little bit. I'm not saying you need to do tons, but you can soften things a little bit, okay? Just get a little on, kind of a diffused. This is one of those Monge powder brushes. Look. Immediate softness, particularly this powder that I described as being very matte. I feel like there might have been a gentle satin finish in that blush. Didn't really notice much sheen at all in the bronzer. But yeah, they didn't skimp on the pigment there. And then we've got a couple of highlighters. One that might amount to more of a blush topper on my skin tone. This kind of coppery looking one. And then this golden champagne. I'm going to take that and see what kind of highlight we get with it. Just taking it right in here. Yes, skin is going to get some glow back with this. Although I don't feel like I need to be as careful with this now. I wonder how much more the light one would feel like an Hourglass palette, you know, because I just never have to watch myself that much as far as the pigmentation of an Hourglass palette. Like, I've never had to be that careful before. I'm betting the light one would have had a little more ease. But still, the bronzer was great in here for me, and the highlight's doing awesome too. And I can use my Essence setting spray that I like that I already have. Okay, I'm gonna use their little Fix and Last 18-hour waterproof setting spray. Free from oil and alcohol, it says. After all these color steps, now I look at my nose and I'm not really noticing the texture thing as much. I don't know if it somewhat warmed up with my skin. I mean, as you wear things, products do change, sometimes for the better. For brows, I do have this Baby Got Brow eyebrow pencil. Shade is brunette. I'm not sure if they're even still selling this. It's kind of a teardrop shaped design, so a little bit larger pencil, but I don't recall hating this one. So I'm gonna throw that in. And I recently decluttered a tinted brow gel that I really didn't love from Essence. I just felt like the brush was really too big and the color was kind of off for me too, so I'll use a different gel. But at least we can have a partial Essence brow. That looks good there. Got a little area now to fill in extra because, as I mentioned in another video, I have my goggles on, like kind of sitting up over my eyes, and the rubber kind of like pulled out a few brow hairs, I think, in like the center of my left brow. Already had a scar from a long time ago in that brow. This is a decent little brow pencil. I find myself kind of working off the tip of the teardrop shape, and it's helping me have a bit more control. That being said, I am wearing that part down a little more. And then I'm just going to take this ColourPop Brow Boss. This is a clear gel. Sometimes it has so much gel on the tip when I take it out, but just brush up a little bit with that. Moving on, we're going to do an eyeshadow look, and as I mentioned, I got their eyeshadow primer. Prime like a pro eyeshadow base, intensifying, long-lasting, no creasing, all the things we want an eye primer to do. It says universal shades, so let's see. Okay, it's squeezing out, just looking like kind of light and creamy, and then going basically colorless. Almost like kind of a cloudy gel, I would say it looked like coming out. So not that sort of beigey look that we see when we first squeeze out the Milani, or like when I swipe that e.l.f. one all over my lids, but we'll see how this does. It doesn't feel tacky at all really to the touch now. I think brands need to have eye primers, so I'm glad that there's an option here. And then these little eye palettes. These are a brand new thing. I got the Rose edition and the Peach edition, and I want to say like 3 different ones were out of stock. I'm double checking what the price was. These were just $4.99. Little quads here. I know they had a very cool option. They had a brown one. I can't remember. I think the brown one wasn't in stock. Nothing was super colorful, but I think what we're all interested in here is the quality and, you know, what's it going to do for us. I did kind of a bronzy look in my last video with that Morphe palette, so I think I'll save the peach one for another day and probably use the rose today. Also, I got one of their singles. This is the Mono Eyeshadow Pearly in 03 Bronzed Espresso, and I thought this would be such a cool one shadow look. The texture is incredibly good here. And look at that shade. Oh, I just feel like that would make an amazing one shadow look. So stay tuned for that. But here's Rose Edition, just kind of dabbing in here. I feel like this is going to be pretty promising. Wow. It's interesting how the shadows are really built up right to the edge. You know how sometimes in pans they're down a little bit from the pan? All of these are kind of sitting right flush with the top of the palette, you know? But plenty of pigment. I feel like the light shade's going to totally hold its own. The shimmers seem very smooth, nothing squirrely going on there. Let's give it a go and see what kind of look we get. And if there's any other ones of these that you want to see, I mean, I'll show you the peach one. Whoa. Okay, she's pretty soft. I went into that second to the end shade there, the second darkest. But yeah, I'll eventually show you the peach and let me know what else you think is good in this little range. Remember those little Essence like 6-pan palettes? Those were pretty good, but I feel like this formula might be even softer and better. I mean, $4.99. There I am just taking that rosy color, the one right next to our deepest shade, and just using that as a little starting out point here in my crease. I feel like eyeshadow might be kind of coming back a little bit more. I just feel like more things are being released eyeshadow-wise right now. Okay, there's that. Then I've got to see our dark shade. It's swatched well, but let's take our Morphe M303 into it. The shadows are just nice and soft. It's not a super dark shade. I feel like it might be applying just a little lighter than it seems in the palette. Don't you think? I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just not quite as dark as I thought, but I can build it a little bit and see. Flipping my brush, really taking it directly into my crease. We can do a little blend now back with our crease brush. I would say, I mean, it's doing a fine job. It is giving me a really pretty soft rosy look. I think some part of me just expected that shade to go a little bit deeper than it did. It does seem slightly buildable. But yeah, that's pretty much what you're working with. That's how dark this is going to get. And then we can take this shimmer right here if we want to. I believe the other shade, the lightest one, is a matte. But wow, that really wants to pop, doesn't it? Looks so light. We'll just let that ease on in. I mean, it almost looks like a ever so slightly golden champagne, but really it's applying like a light pearly shimmer. If we wanted, we could take a little bit of that lightest shade and just pop it gently like right up under the brow. It's so soft, it's kicking up a lot of powder. Would you like to see a little bit of the deep one just coming under the eye as well? Just a little. I feel like this little quad is kind of a like, not a love. I think it's good. I think there's so much softness really with these shades just in terms of the texture. You know, they're not hard to work with, not hard at all to blend, but I wouldn't have minded a little more intensity out of that deepest one. And one thing I can do is try it with my Profusion small pointed brush just to see. Okay, there's one little trick with it. That can target it more and deepen it just a little more. But that is our eye look with the Rose Edition palette. I don't have a new eyeliner, and frankly, since I'm really wanting to see what the mascara does, I'm not gonna kind of muddy things up with the addition of an eyeliner today. I got their new Lash Without Limits tubing mascara. Extreme lengthening and volume, and then they talk about the easy wash off and no smudging, which we love about tubing mascaras. But $4.99, I would say I'm watching this to see, is it doing any better than the e.l.f. Lash Extender? Here's a look at that brush. It's not looking too super huge, and the bristles taper down a little bit, longer toward this part of the brush and shorter toward the tip. So I'm first gonna curl, of course, with my Shiseido Lash Curler. Okay, brand new mascara. Sometimes we're happy about it, sometimes not. Is this curved a little? My immediate thought is that it looks like it is wanting to define everything. It's not applying tons of product right out of the gate, but it's not clumping anything together at all, which is kind of nice to see. I got a really good curl over here. It's definitely going to need another coat, and something I've learned about tubing mascaras is you don't want to wait too long before applying that next coat. You got to find a sweet spot. You don't want to start loading up immediately, but at the same time, like, some of these can set in real quick. So I'm going to do a quick coat over here on this eye and then hop back to the right eye. I'm feeling quite a bit of control with the brush, like just able to get in there to those little inner lashes pretty well. And of course we can feel comfortable doing the lower lashes because they say this is tubing. Okay, same experience there on the left eye. Now let's hop back to the right and see about building. Kind of twisting my brush a little bit as I go so I make sure product is getting used from all over the brush. I'm seeing a lot of length. I'll get close in a second, but wow. That second coat is giving me a lot of additional length over here. I don't feel like it's dropping my curl. I would say really long lashes is what I'm seeing. That's great. If you get this and you go on with that first coat and you feel like, it's just one of those natural, really just defining mascaras, please continue on with another coat because that's where the magic starts to happen. Okay, down here a little bit to the lower lashes. I just feel like compared to e.l.f. Lash Extender, it's giving me a little bit more of a big lash look, you know? It's definitely more lengthening. Like I'm trying to go light on my lower lashes because I just don't need that big of a thing going on down there. But I've basically done 3 coats and I think it's looking really good. On the Essence lip stuff, I guess I didn't really dig into that like I should have. I don't have anything brand new to use, so I'm just going to use something I have. I got one of these Juicy Balms. This is the Glossy Butter Balm. The shade is called Chocolat to Handle. And, ooh, it's going to be real brownish. Real brown. Okay. I'm going to blend that in a little bit. Kind of liking it though. I'm just trying to make it a little more precise here. That's super cute with this look actually. Oh man, but I forgot it doesn't twist down. Oh, I don't think it's gonna hit the top though. And then I have this Hydra Kiss lip oil. Now I know Essence has some good glosses. I like their Extreme Shine Volume ones. Those have a nice little gentle cooling feel. They're like a low-cost buxom option. But I feel like I just use those more in videos. I have this Hydra Kiss lip oil in the shade Pink Champagne, so I'm gonna roll with that. And I don't think that's gonna give me a lot of color. No, but maybe a little shine on top of everything. Smells good. Real shiny. Oh yeah, that's good. Nice thickness to that too. It feels comfy, but yet I don't feel like it's gonna just slip right outside my lips. And that finishes off my full face of Essence today, you guys. What was I most excited about as far as the new stuff? Honestly, the mascara is really jumping out at me. I love how lengthening that turned out to be. Just really tremendous length. Did not totally drop my curl. I mean, I'm trying to enhance it just a little bit. I feel like maybe a bit less got on this left eye. Let's just see if it can take any more at this moment or if it's to the point of no return. She can take a little more. But assuming it stays true and effective with all of its tubing claims, like that's just going to be a nice thing to have in the mix. So another really good tubing mascara. My foundation stick and my concealer were not new products, so I knew what I was getting into there, like medium coverage on the foundation stick, a solid, I would say, full coverage on the concealer, just a little bit more lightweight on the skin compared to some of the other really full coverage concealer options. The Balm of Sunshine Face and Body Glow Balm worked in nicely, gave my skin a little more freshness alongside a foundation stick that was probably a little light for me. So I think that did well. I'm excited to experiment with that in a few different ways. The Silky Blur Translucent Setting Powder, just know this is a very matte powder, and I think it can maybe add to a little look of dryness on your skin, perhaps. Maybe I need to use it with just a little lighter hand going forward. I don't know. I'm kind of getting a little goes a long way feel with that thing. Extreme pigment with this palette. So I got the darker of the two shades because it was the only one they had. You guys saw this went on with a lot of intensity. I'm kind of curious about the lighter one because I'm getting the feeling that that might be plenty of pigment as well, but fun to try, and I'll keep using that. To be continued on a couple of these little eye things, the Peach Quad and also the single. I'm very excited to do a one shadow look with that, and also the eye primer. I feel like everything applied really nicely over this. It lacks a little bit of the tack that some other eye primers that I use have, but we'll see how that does for staying power today. I feel like the deepest shade in this Rose Quad ended up being a bit softer than I anticipated, but it still turned out a really pretty and I think flattering look. But I feel like perhaps what impressed me most in this video and just immediately knocked my socks off most was probably this mascara. So thank you guys so much for watching. I would love your opinions on new Essence products, or if there's anything I missed, other things you'd like to see, let me know. And I will be back again soon with another video. I love you. Bye.